Hey guys, Maniac here with Mind of Maniac. Doing a bit of an unusual Mind of Maniac. This is like the first Mind of Maniac I've made in quite a while. And the reason why is it's a little bit unusual than Mind of Maniacs I've done previously. Because in this Mind of Maniac, I'm going to be talking about a video game. Just one particular video game. Now, I know I don't normally do that. I usually preserve individual games for either podcasts or something along those lines. Games or game series, I usually will do podcasts. But I usually will do Mind of Maniacs about individual topics or gaming-related topics. This is unusual because I have some things to say about this, and I'm kind of needing a little bit of visual aid here. The game that I've been playing all Memorial Day weekend is Sorcery for the PlayStation 3. Requires the PlayStation Move. I played through the whole game. I did not platinum it. I missed a few achievements on the way. I'm sorry, trophies on the way through. Thought it was a pretty fun game, but there's some things I wanted to say, particularly about the ending of the game, that I felt needed to have a video recorded about it. And like I said, Mind of Maniac is an unscripted series. I may flub a line, I may make a mistake or something like that. But truth is, I've been thinking about this ever since I beat the game, and I really wanted to have this opportunity to talk to you guys about it. For those of you who know, the PlayStation has its own motion system. It's called the PlayStation Move. It uses this wand in conjunction with the PlayStation Eye, called the basically the iToy. It's a basic camera. Along with an implement like either you can use the DualShock 3 for directional controls and movement, or you can use its own little navigation controller, which I don't have here because it's not necessary. Sorcery is one of very, very rare games that actually requires the PlayStation Move. You can't play this game with just a DualShock 3. In fact, it actually says on the top of the thing, required. Now, for a lot of people, they could say, yeah, that's a bit of a deal breaker for me. But please note that the game itself is only $40. It is not a full price game at all. And trust me, for the $40 price, it's actually quite worth it. You can also get this game, the full version of the game through the PlayStation Store. Just pay and download the game that way. So there are two ways to get it. You can either get it retail or get it digitally through the PlayStation Store. The Sorcery was probably one of the first games that I saw demoed. Originally, I think it was, I mentioned that previously, it was first demoed at E3 2009. Actually, it was first demoed at E3 2010 when they were showing off the PlayStation Move for the first time. Along with the announcement of what the PlayStation Move was, they also showed some of the games and how the system worked. And one of the initial games that they showed was Sorcery, which had not been announced up until that point. Now, I must admit, I'm not much of a fan usually. I do enjoy fantasy and that sort of thing, which I would certainly put this up at. But for the most part, other than role-playing games, I don't normally play fantasy games or watch fantasy movies or that sort of thing, or fantasy books. Princess Bride being an exception. I consider that parody as opposed to fantasy. But that all having been said, Sorcery, I don't know why, but it just resonated with me when I first saw it demoed in 2010. I don't know if it was because of the mature themes or just the perfect implementation of the PlayStation Move from what I could see. But I mean, take a look at it for yourself. You play as a young sorcerer's apprentice who's fighting fairies and goblins and trolls and all this other stuff, and you're making potions and you're learning new spells, and this becomes your wand. Perfect. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Harry Potter books or movies, but I have seen some of them. I've seen Harry Potter. I think I've seen the second Harry Potter movie. I mean, I appreciated them. I thought that they were kind of cool on a visual style. I thought they were fine acted and whatever. Not a huge fan though. But for this kind of resonated with me because it seemed to be more of an adult, mature story. Granted, the game is rated E10, so it's not teen rated or M rated by any means. Nor is there really anything in it that's exceptionally graphic. But that having been said, it just seemed a bit more like a more adult version of Harry Potter. And that really struck a chord with me. And I thought to myself, when it finally did come out last week, I really got to give this game a go. I want to take a look at it. I didn't think for sure, at all, I'd be able to find a copy of it. I was kind of worried that it was going to be in the same boat that the Devil May Cry HD collection is, which was, it was released but in name only. You wouldn't be able to find it in shelves anywhere. But I was able to find it on shelves and pick it up. I treated myself to it for Memorial Day weekend. And I spent the whole weekend playing it. And I honestly thought, and I'm going to spoil this for you, so let me just say a few things. The story is about a sorcerer's apprentice named Finn. He works for a sorcerer who's 150 years old named Dash. They also have a mystical cat named Erline that lives with them as well, that can talk and is a girl and talk and everything else. And Finn has been learning the ways of the sorcery from Dash, who is probably one of the best sorcerers ever. We don't know much about Finn or Dash for that matter, except that the game is based very much in I've heard the term Celtic, Germanic. I would say certainly the Germanic forms of, just the concepts of that. Actually, the appearance of Finn, of course, kind of reminded me almost like he was wearing a kilt or something. But he's not. He is wearing pants or shorts. But it just reminded me a lot of that, and it's designed from those original Celtic inspirations and tones, which is not something we've usually seen in a video game. And I like that a lot. In fact, actually, I have a friend that's German Scot. I'm sorry, German-Irish. But actually kind of reminded me, it's like, oh, this is a game about your life story. And I was just messing with him. But, so, the game is described that it's based upon those fantasies about a war with the fairies and the fairy realm and everything else. And that there was all that stuff. And all the things you could possibly imagine about fairies and stuff like that are all true. So along the way of the game, Finn starts to learn the ways of sorcery. He pulls one of Dash's magic wands, drinks a potion, and learns spells. Now the cool thing about it is that the move wand works perfectly as a magic wand. If I wanted to cast a spell, the default is called Arcane Bolt. I just do that. If I wanted hide, that. So I'm trying to, just that sort of thing. If I wanted to, and I can strike in any direction. If I want it curved, I just swipe it sideways, as opposed to that, or that. It's really, really intuitive, actually. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some spots, in particular, if your field of view is being distorted by something in the way, there are spots that actually the bolts might not curve properly, but there is some form of auto-aim in there that does seem to help you. And after about 10 minutes, you're going to get once you've learned how to master how to get high targets, you will have a pretty good chance of that sort of thing. There are also other spells that you can conjure. As you play through the game, you learn new spells, and you are able to summon new elementals like fire, wind, lightning, and that sort of thing, and ice. And all of that works really well too. You basically hold down the move button, and you swipe this way, or you swipe this way, or you swipe this way, or you swipe this way, and you're able to change the spells, and then from there you can use different attacks, or if you wanted to, chain the attacks together. Like if I set off a trail of fire, I could actually have that fire sucked up in a tornado that I can cast through wind power, and then I have a flaming tornado that I can use to either attack enemies, or I can throw fireballs at it, and or arcane bolts at it, and they'll bounce in random directions and attack the enemies. Really, really intuitive attacks. Or you do the same thing with lightning, or cast lightning traps, fire bolts of lightning. Although, to be perfectly honest, I think the lightning attacks are probably the most powerful in the game. And from the reviewers I've seen, they all said the same thing, is like once they had lightning, they pretty much just used that. However, that having been said, there are some bosses where lightning will not, you will need lightning for, but there are some bosses where lightning will not work and you'll have to use something alternate. So it does change up that respect. The game does not force you to use lightning once you have it. You have other opportunities, particularly in boss fights or in achievements, to use other attacks and other magic attacks. It actually does work really well. However, every once in a while the game, especially I've noticed between wind and ice attacks, wind and fire attacks, actually, you actually have to pull back on a wind attack, or if you want to have an ice attack, you have to go this. For some odd reason, the PlayStation Move, at least as much as I played it, even calibrating it every time, always just had a problem with discerning between this and this type of attack. That's again kind of the reason why I'm showing you guys on video. Sometimes I try to summon ice, and I get wind instead selected. Now you can see your status. You can see your status in the lower right-hand portion of the screen, so you do know what's cast. But then that's another second of you having to select, try it again and select another attack. When sometimes, maybe ice doesn't work against this particular enemy. That can happen actually. So sometimes when you want to pull up a particular attack, it's particular. You need to have that particular attack cast. So it's a bit iffy on that respect. Hopefully they'll fix that in a patch or something, or I'm doing something wrong and they'll tell me how to properly calibrate it. So other than that, actually, the system does work really well, and the Move Wand works fantastically. I gotta say that I am really happy that I got a PlayStation Move for this. Granted, I already had the PlayStation Move for 2 years, as I'm sure you guys will go through my YouTube channel and see that I unboxed it originally for to play the Move version of, well, I play the Move capabilities of the game Heavy Rain, which had already come out earlier that year. So basically, what was originally expected to be the PlayStation Move exclusive game that was going to be the killer app came 2 years after the PlayStation Move, and the killer app was a game that was already released. But that having been said, Heavy Rain is a fantastic game. I just wish that there were move-centric achievements added, but that's my... So after all that having been said, what did I think of the game's story? I thought the game was really fast-paced. It was really fun to learn more about Erline's past, that we find out, and again I'm going to spoil this for you guys, for those of you who are not going to play the game. We find out Erline's history. And apparently Erline is actually a princess, a fairy princess, that was turned into a cat by Dash for her protection. She's basically in the fairy relocation program because she's trying to stay under the radar of her mother, who is the Nightmare Queen. She has basically been living with Dash for about 150 years, yeah, I would say probably about, for quite a while, and she's been basically trying to stay under the radar of her mother because she figures that the way her mother works is that her mother would try to basically gain her for a more permanent position in the throne, because as she explains to Finn, her mother is only queen for as long as her father's alive. Once her father dies, or if her father dies, her mother doesn't become queen, she becomes the queen. I guess this has to do with marriage or something along those lines. So the fact that her mother has generated all of this particularly evil power is something that, and has been using this for all this thing. She basically was able to summon Nightmare, which took over her soul and caused her to do evil things in exchange for power, but basically Nightmare is driving her mother's body, not her. That sort of thing. It's an interesting dynamic. I wish we had seen the Nightmare Queen much over the course of the game. We only follow her maybe once or twice, even though we are familiar throughout the entire game of what her destruction is once we become aware of her. We basically are constantly living in, going through areas that she had destroyed or she had changed or that she had been responsible for, probably because she knows that you're coming through. It's also nice to see all these virtual representations of things like the fairy realms and the ways between and that sort of thing. It reminded me a lot of almost like a roller coaster ride or a theme park ride, basically. The way you're going through set piece to set piece, like a trail, basically, with very few branching paths, but usually if there is a branching passage that leads to a puzzle that gives you a secret item or something like that. Not so much for anything else. There's really no alternate paths to get through levels, and there's very little backtracking. But there's a few showpieces, like when you become an animal or something like that. Sometimes you can use something to become an animal, or sometimes you can use just all that kind of stuff. It's fun. It really is. It's interesting. It makes for a really fun time. So it's that. Now my problem was with the ending, and this is kind of the reason why I did the video. Throughout the particular portions of the game, you really do realize that Finn is starting to fall for Erline. And towards the end of the game, as Erline and Finn save the fairy realm by repairing the sky, basically, Finn is killed by the Nightmare Queen. She realizes what he did to fix the sky and kidnaps her daughter and kills Finn, supposedly. Finn basically goes into the afterlife because it's just like a ghost kind of thing. He felt bound to it because he had stolen something unfinished. Where he meets Dash, who had died earlier. Dash had died probably in the first third of the game. We don't see, I don't remember seeing, actually no, I think that, yes, he was killed by the Nightmare Queen as well, protecting Erline. And what had happened was that Dash tells Dash and Finn have this whole conversation that Dash is also bound as a ghost, basically, but as his own sorcerer, even as a powerful sorcerer, he does not possess the ability to bring himself back to life. But since both of them are dead, two sorcerers do have the ability to make one of them come back to life. It's like an afterlife cast spell or something like that. So Finn tells Dash, when you go back, tell Erline I love her. Which is a fantastic scene. It's a really sweet, well done scene. Granted, it's animated, it's not done in the engine, so we really can't see the emotions or something like that. But the dialogue and voice acting enough, as well as the music, was just enough for me. I mean, for a, you know, I was not really into the visual style that they were going for. With the kind of the storybook or novel appearance. I would have preferred that they use in-engine cutscenes or something. But that scene worked for me. And Dash says, no, tell yourself because you're the one going back. You're a better sorcerer than I ever was. I spent all this time hiding Erline from the Queen when I should have just done what you did, which was go directly after her and stop her. And Dash comes and Dash sends Erline. Dash sends Finn back to life so he can go save Erline. Erline, of course, has already been captured and she's being reprogrammed by her mother, or hypnotized, or mind controlled, or something like that. So as as Finn is storming the castle, going through this whole thing, he's like basically it's a gauntlet level. It's pretty fun. A lot of treasure towards the end of it, so I thought that was kind of a cool trade-off. There really weren't puzzles as much in that sequence of the levels, but there was one big room in that level that's basically puzzles for chests and treasure and stuff like that. And I was able to find all the treasures in the game. So there was all that. The other thing I noticed was that the music was fantastic. I loved the music that they had. Whoever the composer was a genius because they really captured the place and the setting with that music. I know that some people would prefer, you know, just to have a theme that's like, okay, it fits. This really fit, and it sounded beautiful. So props to the composer. Now, I'm kind of nervous about how to say how I'm going to talk about the game's ending and what to talk about after the game's ending. But you know what? I'm going to talk about, since I've already brought up the whole plot line of the story, I'll just talk about the ending right now. For those of you who haven't played the game or haven't seen it yet. Basically, this is the ending. Dash confronts Erline and the Nightmare Queen. Erline has already been put under mind control. She is completely ready to kill you, basically. And so you basically attack her. You have to fight her. And the reason how to fight her is basically by sending her into her mother's, you know, using the wind power to stun her and send her into her mother's attacks. Which, when you look at it, actually, it looks like you've killed her. It really does. In fact, actually, earlier in the game, what you have to, there's the guardian of the fairy forest actually has been corrupted, and you have to kill him. And there's no coming back for him after that. He does die. He does say, actually, can you just plant a maple tree in my roots? Maybe I might come back as a maple tree. I've always wanted to be a maple tree. But he was dead. He was, you know, so I kind of thought I basically killed this girl. So then the Nightmare Queen, seeing her daughter supposedly dead, goes into a fit of rage, and then you have to fight her. If I have one complaint about this, it's that you have to fight her right after the other. There's no checkpoints, there's no save points between the two boss fights. And the Nightmare Queen is actually hard until you learn to tell. So you're going to be replaying this segment. I replayed it even on the easy difficulty. Pretty much thought I had the game beat. I had to replay that segment at least 3 or 4 times. And the thing about it is that the way that the checkpoints left off, I had to basically, it left me off right before I visited the Alchemist. And there's no checkpoints in between, so not only did I have to see all the cutscenes all over and fight the 2 bosses, but I had to redo all my endgame alchemy and leveling and leveling up all over again every time I got beat during that boss fight. And some of those attacks are pretty valuable. Trust me on this. If you want to know the tips to beating this, in order to defeat Erline, the best attacks are the wind powers. Those work the best. The way you can use is you can summon a tornado, and that basically will deflect most of the attacks coming at you. And trust me, her attacks and the attacks of her minions actually are really, really powerful. It doesn't protect you against any of the attacks that the queen might be throwing, but you can just avoid those pretty easily by getting out of the way. The trick is to use the wind attacks, not the vortex, but just a straight. You know, not this, you know, not this tornado attack, but just a straight, you know, attack with wind to basically move Erline. And granted, you can use the vortex to stun her, but you can just send her into it, into her mother's attacks, and that'll harm her. And that's really the only way you can harm her. As for the mother, use lightning attacks and fire them at her. Over the course of the game, actually, over the course of that battle, and occasionally, what will happen is that you'll be giving nightmare powers actually by actually taking them from the queen, which will allow you to have more devastating attacks. So if your lightning attack isn't that powerful, or whatever attacks you might be using against the queen are not that powerful, just be aware that you can always, you know, eventually when you get her down enough health, you can actually do more damage to her once you get nightmare attacks. That having been said, she throws a lot of minions at you after like stage 3 or something like that, in which case you're going to want to cast a lot of lightning traps, so make sure that your mana is high on that one, and your mana regeneration, because if you're using lightning, you can go dry very easily if you're at low mana, or you have a small mana pool, or not so regenerative. I actually noticed that actually it was easier for me to beat it after I leveled up my, I actually had leveled up my, my lightning spell, but I had not leveled up my mana, and what had happened was that I was just draining out my mana and I couldn't do attacks. It was actually easier to just level up the mana pool and the regeneration on mana, and do it that way. That having been said, also health regeneration and health regeneration were essential as well as full health possibilities. So then here's where it gets weird. Up to this point, everything's looking really bad. Okay? You're thinking, okay, I'm going to fight this queen, but Erline is dead. Maybe I'll kill her. And then it also looks like he's taking Nightmare's power, actually. Like he's going to become Nightmare or something like that. When the queen is defeated, Nightmare recedes a little bit. The queen becomes normal for a little bit. Erline is mysteriously fine. Nightmare takes the queen back, takes her back over, and tries to take Erline with her, and they're dragged into this pit. And what we see happen is that Finn casts some type of light power or bolt or some kind of light effect with his wand as he's being dragged down to this pit. And then Finn is pretty much where the boss fight was, but Erline's not there, and the queen isn't there. So then you're thinking, okay, how did I end up back where I started, or I just was? Where's Erline? Where's the queen? I thought we all went down together. So then you just simply cross a bridge, and once you cross that bridge, we see another cutscene, which is not, there's no voiceover for it, so it's not really told what's happening. There's no dialogue. We see Erline is in the room that we've just entered with some guy we don't know. My guess is it was Erline's father, although it's not explicitly said. It's probably the king. That's what I was figuring it was. It was probably the fairy king. Erline is fine. She looks completely fine. The king basically rights all the wrongs, and that's the end of the game. That's it. That's the end of it. No dialogue is said. Nothing is spoken. We don't know what happened to if Finn is okay. I'm sorry, we don't know how Erline survived that. We don't know what happened to the queen, really. Oh, but at the very end, we see that the maple tree inside the Guardian that was planted in the Guardian, Finn had planted a seed inside the Guardian just like he'd asked. We see that tree growing tremendously. So we know that the Guardian got his wish and he's become a maple tree because the Guardian thought that maybe some of his essence would have gone through the tree. So we see that. That's it. That's the end of the game. And you're kind of just thinking, in fact, I was thinking, as I was thinking about it today, I've had the whole day to think about it, was there supposed to be more there? Was there, was I at like a halfway point of the game and they just decided, okay, we'll make a happy ending and that'll be the end of it. That'll be the cut of the game. Because the way that scene was coming up and the tension that was building up to that ending were not happy scenes. And then all of a sudden it's just happy all of a sudden. You know, it's like, oh, we all live happily ever after. I wasn't expecting that. It's like, it almost seems like a continuity issue or something like that. Like, you know, they either ran out of time or that they decided, okay, we'll just cut here, we'll make an ending, we'll make it a happy ending. But there was no dialogue recorded for that scene, so it was kind of suspect. There was music, so there was that. The scene was done. I don't know. It just seemed to me like they had a beginning, they had an ending, they had a middle, but they had nothing between the middle and the ending. That's what I felt. That having been said, maybe I'm wrong. And if you played the game, please post a comment about what your theories were. But again, it seemed to me that. So overall, what did I think of the game? I totally recommend it. It's a great game. If you've got a PlayStation Move, I totally recommend it. Is this a reason to buy the PlayStation Move? Yeah. And also, I want to give it a warning. If you do not have a PlayStation Move, this game will not work. You cannot control it with just a DS, a DualShock 3, or a 6-axis. You must have a PlayStation Move. Another thing I actually also want to talk about is the, since we're just going to talk about the miscellaneous stuff, the potion making, the leveling up. You can actually, as long as you find all the ingredients in the game, and I believe there's about 8 or 9 ingredients total in the game that you can find, anything ranging from fairy honey to onyx mushroom to gray dust and all that sort of stuff. All that kind of stuff you can find. Basically, the way the game works is you basically go through it and using basic permutations and guessing and all this other stuff, you can basically brute force recipes with all of this stuff. And from that, as long as you have a potion bottle, in most of the cases, you basically combine the three ingredients. And actually, it's really cool because the way it works is it uses the wand to actually help you pour the ingredients or prepare the ingredients. If you are pouring something, you can hold it up the bottle like this and turn it upside down. And that pours it into the potion pot. If it sprinkles, you know, you're sprinkling something, it'll sprinkle it in like, you know, you're sprinkling Mrs. Dash or something like that, or pepper or salt. If it's something you're grinding like an onyx mushroom, you can use this. You know, you do this motion in order to work the grinder. And then afterwards you start like this. You know, you turn the wand upside down and you start with a stick, and it has to be stirred this way, and you have to stir it quickly, and then you've got yourself a working potion. From there, you shake the potion. And then you do this action, and that basically means you drink it, and then you become leveled up. Really cool. A lot of the reviewers said it gets old really quickly. I thought it only got old towards the end when I had to level up my character quite a bit. Yeah, that's the downside of the game. You can't level up everything. The problem with it is that there's just too few potion bottles. Some of the stuff is really expensive. Even I thought I got all the chests. I found all the treasures, and I still couldn't. Even if I sold all the potions that I had and sold all the treasures and everything else, I still didn't have enough money to level up everything. I had enough to find everything and to get the achievement. So there's no achievement actually for unlocking everything. Plus, there's no new game plus in the game, and on top of that, there's no behind-the-scenes stuff. You'd think that a Sony Santa Monica game, or just like God of War, would have a lot of behind-the-scenes content or extra features and stuff like that. And the truth is, no. Once you play through the game, other than playing through for achievements or something like that, I'm sorry, trophies, I always say achievements, there's no replayability to the game. If you can just play it once and then you're done with it, there's no, other than, like I said, the extra trophies. And if you really wanted to, you could get all the trophies in one playthrough on casual difficulty. There's no incentive to play the game on the higher difficulties. I didn't get all the achievements in the trophies in all one playthrough, but I probably could have if I had a strategy or something like that. I've noticed that not too many people are actually putting up strategy videos for this because the game is kind of under the radar. But I just wanted to talk a bit about it. I'd like to hear what you guys think, and if you want me to do another Mind of Maniac, I've got a few more ideas for more Mind of Maniac, so expect those coming up. Also got some more ideas for videos coming up, so guys, more videos are coming, certainly. Be aware of that. E3 is coming up next week. I'm not going, unfortunately, but I will try my best to cover it from this end. Until next time, guys, this is Maniac with Mind of Maniac. Thanks for watching, over and out. And check out Sorcery if you really want to take a look at it. If you're on the fence, if you got a PlayStation Move, Sorcery is well worth the $40. So take care, guys. Until next time, this is Maniac, over and out.